founders need to see a better future for themselves. They want to see how it can be made real, and they want to see evidence of that. We are compressing somewhere between 3 months and 12 months into 3 days, being able to build an entire business and a platform.
Entrepreneurs, I believe, have an unfair advantage because they have 10 to 100 times or 1,000,000 times more personal agency than people whose time is controlled by other people. I can take a week and I just enjoy myself, and then I come back with a new brain, I come back with fresh energy, and I come back a lot simpler than when I left, because a lot of things that I thought were important before I go on free days, the importance of those things has disappeared. Everybody, it's Dan Sullivan here, and I'm here with my partner, podcast partner, and this is Mike Koenigs, and this is called Capability Amplifier. Mike, you just did a great service for all the Free Zone clients who were in Chicago last week, and early morning, you got them out of bed real early, 7:20, 7:30, and you did real created on the spot workshop for AI for them, and they were all raving about it when they came in. You know, it would take the second coming to get me out of bed at 7:00 in the morning to go to. But in the absence of the second coming, I rely on great thinkers, and you're a great thinker on AI and what AI can do. And just tell them what you did this time.
Well,
and also what you're doing. You're allowing people to make greater use of their past to indicate their direction for the future.
Yeah. So here's the setup. Thanks, Dan. There's obviously a lot of interest in AI in business, and every founder is trying to figure out, how do I use AI? How do I keep up with it? What can it do? And everyone feels like they're falling behind because things are moving so fast. It's confusing and it's overwhelming. And I just put a little post in, there's a group of people who are in Free Zone, and said, hey, if you'd like, I'll do a workshop in the morning before the event starts. And right away, a whole bunch of people said yes. And this began from just having dinner at your house. It was several coach members, and one of the people there was Stephen Poulter, Dr. Stephen Poulter. And I asked him a few questions, and I said, well, I'll make you the subject of the first part of the workshop, and what's a problem you want to solve? And he said, you know, I really have to find some ways to repurpose and reuse my knowledge and create some recurring revenue that is not dependent on my person and in you know, working inside the business. And so I said, well, that's pretty interesting. And I went out and I built a little AI that would look into Stephen Poulter's better future self. Okay. So some of the tools I used include, of course, ChatGPT, and something brand new called Manus, which is agent technology. So right now, when you're using AI, you generally
MANUS, right?
US. Yep, MANUS.IM. And I'll show you what wound up happening, because some of the story that makes this really interesting is I loaded up some prompts that trained Manus on Stephen's past, everything about him. And he's got over 600,000 followers on TikTok alone, hundreds of thousands on Instagram. So he's got a platform. And Manus trained itself on Stephen Poulter's past, which is pretty cool. And then I asked, you know, can you build a better future self? And I explained that he wanted to create continuity income. And of course, it did. And then and I'll show you what wound up happening here, because Manus in the background went to work, and so there's pages and pages of concept, but I basically said, do this research. I want you to come up with 10 ideas for Dr. Poulter that will help him monetize his audience. Calculate the approximate number of followers he has on his social media accounts. And do deep research on what the needs want, what they need, and give me a proposal for each one. And they need to be passive income generating or a consumer product that requires very little effort on his behalf and is a cash pay product or service and not dependent on insurance or a large bureaucracy to function. Right? That's pretty cool. So this thing went to work, and it takes about 20 minutes, and it did deep research and deep research and deep research. And when it was done, it came up with, like, here's a report on his whole professional background, everything about him. It researched his ideal customer profile, which I showed him. And he's like, yep, that's exactly right. What their challenges were. And then it did his social media analysis.
And he's an IVF doctor for...
IVF doctor, yes.
In vitro fertilization.
Yes.
So in other words, what he does, he helps other men's wives get pregnant.
That is exactly right. And then it built massive details, product strategy, email marketing campaign, implementation checklist. All right. This is deep. Now, where it got a little more interesting is I went over to another tool that's called Lovable. And I just took one of the ideas and I still built an app. So what did it do? It built an app called Ask Dr. Poulter. By the way, I built this prototype in a half an hour, Dan. If normally to just come up with a user interface for a website. So here it is. It's comprehensive fertility support, educational resources, and it wrote the copy. It came up with a pricing plan and frequently asked questions, which are all written in his voice. And then it's got the capability to log in. And ultimately, what this thing will do is it has a semi-functional chatbot that you can talk to, and it got it working. So here's what's important is inside of about an hour, I was able to not only get inside his head, find some opportunities, prototype some software. I even used it in another version to write a book in his voice about his better future self and what he wanted to provide as well. So that I can show you here, the draft of the book. And so here it is. It came up with a content analysis. And like here's a chapter of the book, the fertility lifestyle, optimizing for fertility. It found some quotes. Now I gave it some prompts. I took a little bit of tweaking, but it's writing in his voice for his audience. And I was able to build out the better share of a first draft of a book. Now, the other thing that I shared with the audience that I also did is I took all of our episodes of Capability Amplifier. And so there it is. There's a book project outline. But this is the right one. I actually did this for our podcast today. I loaded up all of our podcast episodes and said, hey, come up with 30 different podcast ideas, show ideas. But here's the book project outline. And I had it write a book based upon all of our content and our knowledge that we've been building over the past 6 years or so. And it wrote a book. And I trained it in your voice and in my voice, so the content feels like you and I having a conversation together.
That's great.
So there it is. And I'm not sure if this is I don't like the title, but I ended up having it work on 50 different titles and subtitles.
Yeah.
And I had it create like one of our topics that we talk about is AI integration, leveraging technology for entrepreneurial advantage. Here's one on reinventing yourself in your business. There's one on the speed of trust. So it really talked about not only our past content, but it
indicated where we should go.
Yeah, where we should go. Mm-hmm. So I haven't even shared this with you, but it also did a tremendous amount of back research on your body of work and found ways to integrate that into a story that we'd tell together.
That's great.
Yeah. So make a long story short, if we boil all this down, what I love about AI inside of the context of little workshops is it is possible now, depending on your outside footprint, to look at your past, synthesize a better future based on your past, and take your body of work in your voice and have a conversation that you normally would take many weeks or many months to get to. And I like it in a collaborative environment, because when the lights start shining in people's eyes, and the conversations that get created, the additional collaborations, it just happens faster.
Right. It's superb.
So much fun. And it's very entertaining.
Yeah. So what's your business model for this?
So what I've been doing lately, so I'm going to tell you another story about what happened at Strategic Coach, because it was the Strategic Coach environment that made this possible. Because I've been using AI in the business. And for example, I was working with a gentleman who's also a coach member this past week, and he has a business called the Augusta Rule. And what he does is the Augusta Rule is a rule that allows you to rent your business to yourself tax-free. So you can establish the value of your home, and you can do that 14 days a year. So let's say you'd establish that your home, if you did an event in a similar environment, it'd be worth $3,000 a day. Well, you can rent yourself your home 14 times 3. Okay, so, and it's 100% tax-free income. So that's not too bad, right? So it's free money. That's $42,000 a year. And tax-free, just think about the taxable income you'd have to generate in order to make the same. So they built a SaaS platform, a software as service platform, and a done for you, where they figure out how to optimize. We can't say the word maximize. The rental you can produce. It actually does comps.
Yeah, I think optimize is better than maximize.
Yeah, it's just from a legal perspective, what his attorney partner says is, I can't say that, but you and I can mention it, right? Anyway, and they only charge a percentage of the free money they get you, but because they know this so well, they really can produce more revenue and come up with more creative ways to create meetings. So what we were able to do is take their entire body of work, feed it into the AI, and when he came in a couple days ago, I had already produced a video, like a sizzle reel and a TED Talk based on the body of work and what this represents. So we could have a conversation, and it was using a synthetic video that we produced. So imagine if, what normally takes 3 weeks or 6 weeks, we can produce a visualization. So my business model right now is we are compressing somewhere between 3 months and 12 months into 3 days, being able to build an entire business and a platform. And
with all the marketing materials.
And have a conversation. It's like a prototype in 40 minutes that would normally take 4 weeks and $40,000. So that's the core business model, but it's how it happens is the other backstory, which which came from another strategic coach meeting about, I don't know if it's a month ago or so, where I was with Gary Klaven and Joe Polish. And I was telling him, well, the only problem with my business model is it's a long conversation and it takes a little while. Do you have to clear your throat, by the way?
I have to get a drink of water.
Okay, get it. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll just put a little break there. Okay.
No. Right. It's texture.
Yes. Well, what happened was I was explaining that I have a long sales cycle and there's only a certain number of people who are going to sign up. And Gary Klaven was sitting there and he said, well, Mike, I'd pay you $2,500 for an hour of your time. I'm not going to write a 6-figure check when I don't know what I'm going to get. I said, that's fair enough. And Joe Polish was with us and he said, well, why don't you do the $1,000 cup of coffee? I'm like, what's that? And he said, well, it's an interview that I did with a guy named Ron Lynch who's in the infomercial business. And people always ask him, can I pick your brain? And he got sick of people who would pick his brain and do nothing. And he said, well, you can pick my brain, but it's going to cost you $1,000. That way you got skin in the game. You're going to show up and you're going to take this time seriously and maybe you'll act on it. And he said, not only did that clear up his calendar, but he said the people who showed up became clients a lot more readily. And so Joe sent me that interview and I immediately transcribed it. And then I turned it into an offer. And 5 days later, we launched this thing and we got 5 signups from one email to do the $1,000 cup of coffee with Mike. Now, here's where AI kicks in because I have them answer some basic questions about, what they want, where they want to go, and what their expectations are for this conversation. And I trained an AI to do deep research on them. It synthesizes their personality profiles and gives me an 80-page report. So when they show up, I can give them really valuable recommendations. And everyone says, I got $10,000 to $100,000 worth of value here. And that naturally leads to, would you like to make it real? And of course they say yes. So then I show them how we can actually build everything in that report in 3 days. So from 5 conversations, I had 3 enrollments. And then we did a webinar, and I got 11 just from that one idea, all from the seed of a conversation that took place at Free Zone.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a crazy high quality win. So the most important takeaway I have in all this is founders need to see a better future for themselves. Mm-hmm. They want to see how it can be made real, and they want to see evidence of that.
Yeah.
And now what you can explore and create together, it just encourages collaboration and deeper conversations faster.
Yeah. What does this tell you about where things are going, period, not just with your particular using it? Because I just completed my quarterly book, and it's on the first 10 amendments of the U.S. Constitution, which are called the Bill of Rights, okay? And it's really the kind of the heart of the whole American attitude toward governance and why we have governance. And generally speaking, the people who started the country, whether they're popularly known as the founders, founding fathers, but we'll just call them the founders because we don't want to step on any toes here. And if you look at their backgrounds, that by and large, they were 85 to 90% entrepreneurial in how they made their money. And they were pretty well versed in how their country came into existence and where it came from, referring back to Great Britain. And they knew their laws, they knew the regulations, they kind of knew everything from the Magna Carta up to their day, late 1700s. And so what I did is I did a search with Perplexity AI, and I simply say, and I took each of the amendments, starting with the freedom of speech and assembly, which is the First Amendment, very famous. And I simply say, tell me 5 ways that the First Amendment uniquely encourages, supports, and protects American entrepreneurism. And they came out. And then, I took each of them and I put it in my style of writing.
Yep.
And so basically, I have to create a fast filter. So I said, based on this, create a 100-word opening paragraph, best result, then the 5 success criteria, and then take the best result and approach it from the standpoint of someone who's opposed to America, who's opposed to entrepreneurism, and write it out. And it was very cogent. It was not, it wasn't wild emotionalism. But the whole point is that entrepreneurism threatens the harmony of society. And what you're doing with this amendment is that you're creating speaking, people getting together and talking, people getting together and assembling, and they are going to be coming up with things that upset, destabilize, create chaos into society. And I said, that sounds about right. And anyway, and we went through it. And the interesting thing is that I'm an American by birth. I live in a suburb of the United States called Canada, a gated community. They don't let just anybody in. You have to check at the gate, and they want to know, what are you bringing into the country? You can't have smokes, you can't have alcohol, and you can't have guns. You can't bring those into the gated community. And then I went, and all my team are Canadians, so they've not had any firsthand experience with the legal supports that actually protect entrepreneurism. And they were fascinated. They were absolutely fascinated. That book comes out in June, and quarterly book. It's called The Bill of Rights Economy. And anyway, but it was really fascinating to me that I don't think anyone has ever written a book like this using we have already got the copyright into play. We have the thing, and it'll come out for all strategic coach clients in June. And but it was just fascinating to me that it probably shortened my writing time by 80%. Everything was crisp, and I had the paragraphs. I just put them into Fast Filter, which is my go-to medium for having an interview. And then Shannon and the others asked me questions, and can you give me an example of this? And they were just fascinated. They were fascinated with, and they said, we never understood guns, but now we understand guns, and we understand why people have guns, and why it's crucial. But what comes across is that 2 main points, that the Constitution itself is the supreme law of the United States.
Yes.
President isn't, the Supreme Court is not, the Congress is not. The Constitution is the supreme law of the United States. Everything is under it's an operating system that they've created, but the amendments are, this is how we're going to protect you from the government interfering in your entrepreneurial progress. And and it was really very, very interesting to me. I only say that, and I only introduce this subject, that the United States right now is reorganizing the entire game board for world economics.
Yes.
And what does it say? This is one person, Mike Koenigs, who's creating what I think is a fundamental productivity breakthrough into what an entrepreneur, an individual entrepreneurial founder, how they can think about who they are in the world with a complete history of optimizing their history and what got them here, and then giving them very quick direction of what the most fascinating and motivating direction would be in their future. Is that well said? Did I say that?
That's awesome. I'm going to I'm going to capability amplify what you just said. Thank you for that gift, by the way. That was super helpful. And you started this with asking a question: how does this affect the future, and where is it going?
Especially the United States.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think if you employ the VCR, the vision, capabilities, and reach idea, and let me show you something that I made for you really quickly. So I asked, so in the past couple weeks, ChatGPT added a function that has memory. It has long memory, which you can clear if you want to, but it starts keeping track of everything you ask it and everything you're doing. So now it can look at your past and it can help you predict better future. So, and I've tuned mine a little bit, but I popped in a little prompt and I'll show it to you. It said, what are Dan Sullivan's top 10 capabilities? So number one, asking game-changing questions. Dan's biggest secret in business is the surgical art of asking questions that rewire an entrepreneur's brain on the spot. I happen to agree with that statement. That feels very spotting and amplifying unique ability. It even respected your restricted, your registered trademark.
The patent.
Yeah, patented now. Yeah. So you can look at any founder, strip away the noise, and name one talent passion combo that prints money and energy for life. I like how that's said. And then 10 times vision engineering. Dan doesn't coach for incremental wins. He programs a mind elite 10x because counterintuitively it's simpler than 2x. So it's even providing the reference to that, to your book. Framework alchemy distills chaos into repeatable models so entrepreneurs can scale courage, capability, confidence on demand. Nice. Impact filtering. He forces absolute clarity and purpose, success, worst case fallout, killing bad ideas before they waste oxygen. Good hook. Entrepreneurial time system mastery. Who, not how delegation. Progress psychology, the gap and the gain. Multiplier mindset broadcasting through podcasts, workshops, and books. He infects entrepreneurs with an unlimited growth operating system. Ooh, juicy. Relentless concept branding. Dan's knack for sticky language turns abstract ideas into movements and revenue streams. Okay. How's that make you feel?
That's really great.
It's pretty good. Now I asked it another.
Better than the biography that I have.
Yeah, I like it. And by the way, we can do that too. We can, and this is with a brand new model that was released like 2 days ago. It's called ChatGPT 03. This thing's smart. Now I asked it, based on everything you know about Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach from the web, our full chat history and memory, give me 10 high leverage ways Dan Sullivan should be using AI that he hasn't yet considered, prioritize ideas that are tailored to his habits, goals, and work-life patterns, even if they're unconventional or unexpected. You want to see it?
Sure, of course.
All right. So unique ability GPT. So a large language model scans a client's LinkedIn, Colby transcripts, and team chat, spits out a one-sentence unique ability, 3 stop doing zones and 12-month growth map in less than 2 minutes. Okay. We could prototype that. 10x scenario simulator. Feed last numbers and moonshot wishes. AI generates 3 friction-free 10x paths with risk maps, talent gaps, and who not how hiring lists. Turns 10x is easier than 2x into playable video game. That's interesting. Impact filter copilot. Free day guardian. Who cloud matcher. I've thought about this before. AI graph of 20,000 alumni and partner talent. Drop a need, get a pre-vetted who with track record availability and an intro script. I know we've talked about the digital twin. Game tracker AI. Question craft generates bespoke high voltage questions for every attendee from pre-event surveys. No more generic icebreakers. Framework composer. Drops raw Zoom audio. AI distills a fresh name concept, one-page visual, swipe page copy. Ready to trademark same day. And then legacy codex. Nightly voice memos flow into an AI that draft future books, holographic keynotes, and VR coaching modules. Projecting Dan into 21 and 25. So future proofs his wisdom without burning a buffer day. Good hook.
This is good.
But what's great about this is you know, you and I, just like right now, so we've got 10 ideas to talk about. One of these might look interesting to you, and you'd say, hey, this would be a fun collaboration. And it could be prototyped, or it might just provide the foundational concept for your next book or another podcast episode.
Right.
So, so now we've got vision, capabilities. We could choose one of these right now and start prototyping it live in real time through a conversation. And reach, we're doing reach right now. We could take that and say, now let's build a show flow and some great questions to tell this story more effectively and build the podcast. So to me, what the future of AI is what we're doing right now, which is collaboration. Our past is greater than our future, building a future, making it real, and getting the message out to people in a day. That excites the hell out of me.
That's great. Yeah, I think the one right off the bat, and it's actually the number one reason that people have actually heard of Coach, is that it doesn't make you work harder and longer. You get multiplier results by working actually less and more enjoyably. So the free day guardian is really our own research sort of indicates that that's what they're looking. They all know how to make money. I mean, first of all, just to qualify for the program, they're already very close to the top 1% of income earners. Not just in the United States, but in the world. I mean, everybody thinks that, that people make a lot of money, but if you actually look at all the results from around the world, if you're making above 200,000 a year, which is our entry level, it's our entry level qualifier. And it's funny, we had a client who in the program, and I met him for the first time about 3 weeks, not in my workshop, but in another coach's workshop. And I found it notable because I'll be 81 years old in May, and he's 21. And this is the first time I've had a 60-year gap between myself and one of the coach. And he's got an interesting history. When he was 17, he did the Unique Edge. His father was in the program, and we have a Unique Edge program, 18 to 24-year-olds. So we catch people right at that point. They're leaving home. They're, a lot are bound to college. A lot of them are already entrepreneurial. They already have smaller businesses, even while they were going to high school. He did the Unique Edge, took a big jump, and came back and did the Unique Edge first at 18, then at 19. And then he joined his father's firm, which is a real estate company. And he said, what I ought to do is take the team program, because we have a team program not to run the company, but to support the entrepreneur. So we have that. So he took that and became very, very useful. He became very useful because he became a salesperson and wasn't a salaried employee anymore. Within a year, he had gone, but I've had conversations with this type of person before, very young, very, very productive, very creative, and making a lot of money. And the question comes up, I'm a little bit worried. Should I go to college? And I said, probably only as a teacher. You should probably only go as a teacher, or maybe a funder of a college or something like that. But I said, you're already way ahead of anybody who's in the faculty or the administration of any university that you would go to. So I said, I wouldn't need it, but I said, it's not, if you need it for a confidence issue or something, just go to night school somewhere, there's programs you can join, and you can do all the work online. And from a confidence standpoint, if you think it's necessary. But just from my perspective, just start growing your company real big and hire a lot of people, and you're probably doing yourself and other people more good than if you went to college,
Yeah.
And so the thing that I find really, really interesting about that is the number one problem when entrepreneurs get real successful is that they think that any one of the 365 days in the year can be a workday. And I said, if I take a concept from financial planning, like you're going to a financial planner, the first thing that they have to establish is how much money do you want to save each year?
Yeah.
And the savings have to come first. If they don't come first, you don't have any savings. Same thing applies to free time of not working. You have to establish up front out of a 365-day year, one extra day every 4 years with leap year, but 365 days, that why don't you at the beginning of the year just say how many of those days are not going to be work days? Okay. And in my case, for the last 25 years, it's 155 free days a year. Okay, so that's off. So I've got 210 days to work with. And now every year, how are the 210 days that I have available this year going to be more creative, more productive, and more profitable than the 210 days? And if you just, every year is better than the last year, you can pretty well predict what the future is going to be. The big question is, how do you guard those free days? Free day guardian.
It's good.
Because opportunity is going to be knocking on the door all the time. And you got to have some rules about, the world wants to come to you now because the world loves motion, the world loves energy, the world loves progress. And so the rest of the world would like to be part of your cash flow.
So I have two questions for you, Dan, and that is, you have a beautiful, busy mind, and you make things all the time. It is who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're on a free day, what do those look like? What's Dan's typical free day? And when you're on free day, you're a creative, imaginative guy who's always thinking about something that provides you with fertile ground for what you're, like how much of time in your free day is spent just being in a creative zone and thinking about your better future. And, you're incredibly excited about your business, the people in the business, your ideas, making things, writing books, doing shows. What's free day?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's midnight to midnight. Okay, so it's not part of a day. It's not a day that starts at noon one day and finishes at noon the next day. So it's 24 hours on the clock. And the other thing is it actually starts what happens before I have that free day. So we have a very small planning tool that I use for project creation, any kind of project where I want someone else to be involved in the project. And I have a great team. I'm surrounded by great team members. And so what I do is I say this is the project to have a free day without any work. And so I'll plan it out by midnight to midnight, starting tonight, going till tomorrow night. I'm going to have a complete free day. And I'm going to be finishing the day completely rejuvenated as a result of not working. And therefore, the first thing I'm going to do, anything that I would think about tomorrow related to work, I'm going to talk to this team member and this team member and this team member, and they're going to handle all this stuff so that I don't have to do it. And then I'm going to start a novel. I'm going to start reading a novel. And novels immediately separate you from the world that you're in. And I'm a reader, so other people listen, or they they live stream or whatever they want to do. But because oftentimes our free days really involve travel, and what do you do when you're traveling? So I started a novel, and I'm really big on detective stories. If you want to, I like Jack Reacher stories. I like Jason Bourne stories. I like like the Gray Man stories. I like John Milton stories, Bobby Lee Swaggart stories. I like that. Good guys, bad guys, no ambiguity, no ambiguity.
Cowboy stories. Yep.
Real clear cut stuff.
Yeah.
Good guy triumphs, bad guy dies. That sort of thing. But involving really, really complex plots and intrigues that and like that. So that'll be part of my Guardian. That novel will be a Guardian. But the other thing is, these are the things that I'm going to do on my free day. And what I do is I'm tightly scheduled with free day activities as I am with work activities. And that includes exercise, that includes getting sleep, that includes meeting with people you really like. And I'm a real history buff, so I also like history. I'm very, very interested in geopolitics type of issues. So this is a very fruitful time that we're going through right now. Where you can, read how do tariffs actually work, and are all tariffs actually tariffs? And for example, a lot of countries, it doesn't seem that they charge tariffs, but what they create is bureaucratic tariffs. So they say, yes, you can bring your product into our country, but you have to go through 10 steps of bureaucracy, and there's a fee to go through each step. When you add up the fees, it's a tariff. It's worse than a tariff because it costs you money to go through the steps, but it also costs you time to go through it. And time is actually for entrepreneurs, time is more valuable than money, and everything like that. So that sort of thing interests me because I like talking about politics. I like talking about the way the world is going. And this feeds me with the history stories, really feeds me with, and AI, by the way, is phenomenal for history. Tell me the 10 most important facts about this subject. And, okay, and with each of the 10 points, make them into 50-word paragraphs and put 3 bullet points, but bullet points underneath of what you could do to not get caught up with the downside or the dark side of this political trend, So anyway, but it feeds my brain, and I like exercise. I like hiking. I like swimming. And we go places where we can do this. I'm going to London in 3 weeks, and London is just, it's the great history capital of the world because it's been around for 2,000 years, and you can't go 50 feet without some historical fact. And I like theater. We go to theater a lot, and so that's and I read the news, but I don't watch television. I go to good YouTube half-hour interviews with people who are, knowledgeable about a subject. They're sort of experts on the subject, and that's it. And Babs and I love being together. So we always do our free days together. But that would just be an indication, and then in Coach, we get people to identify all these things. And what happens is that the things that they would really love doing, they put into a category called retirement.
Yeah.
And they say, after I work another 10 or 15 years, make a lot of money, I'll be able to do these things. But I said the chances of them happening are less than zero because you're not practicing them right now. I don't have any muscle, but in 15 years, I'm going to really start working out, and I'm going to develop a lot of muscle. It's not going to happen. It's not going to. So taking a great free day actually requires a lot of muscle, And the other thing is that we have a profitable company. Things are going in the right direction. We have great teamwork. And so I can take a day out, and it's not a day, it's a week, it'll be a full week. And I just enjoy myself. And then I come back with a new brain. I come back with fresh energy, and I come back a lot simpler than when I left, because a lot of things that I thought were important before I go on free days, during the time away, the importance of those things has disappeared. So that would be some example of how we would approach. And we do that with all of our strategic coach clients. And they have, we don't have family, we don't have children, we'd have children. My children are all check writers between ages 25 and 40.
Right on.
25 and 70, actually.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if I remember correctly, it goes.
Yeah, 25. I would say the average age is, 45 to 50, probably. Yeah. Well, you're on the high side, but that's okay.
Yeah, my birthday's in 10 days.
Yeah. You're a May guy.
I am April 27th.
Oh, April 27th. Well,
yep, we're close.
You're a Taurus.
Yep. Well, you are too, right?
19th of May.
Oh, so are you still a Taurus?
Yeah, 20th is the crossover.
There you go.
It's kind of interesting. People say, do you believe in that stuff? And I said, I believe in anything that seems to be true.
Yeah. Yeah, there seem to be, well, again, I like indicators and tendencies and patterns. Yeah. And they're useful for making faster decisions that deliver more value and freedom. And I think that's, one of our shared values.
I've got a lot of compartments in my brain for things that I find useful, but I'm not going to I'm not going to preach about it.
Doesn't mean it has to be religion. Right on. So while you were telling me that, first of all, that's the most thorough explanation I've gotten from you before. And I also like hearing the evolution, because two things are different from this conversation a couple of years ago to me. One of them, of course, when you gave up traditional media, I noticed your productivity seemed to have improved, and your creativity, like you've been at a creative high point now for the past few years, producing more meaningful stuff. And when I look at your past body of work, how much cleaner, more refined it is. Not that it hasn't been, but it's a lot more deliberate, and there's much more there. Mm-hmm. The next thing is, you just in listening to you about how you've incorporated AI into your exploration, your creativity, something that I've noticed myself is, where in the past I might turn and I'll bring up like a couple of news sites because I'm digesting information. Now I spend a lot more time creating my own relevant content based on two sources. One of them is YouTube. I find that to be the highest concentration of value compared to other media. And because I can use AI to digest hours of content in minutes, I don't have to even watch it. I just transcribe it and have it summarized. But I'm also using AI to make my news. So much like you said, give me a history lesson. It is specific for you. Mm-hmm. And then I pulled out a little bit and I thought, okay, well, how do you create more of that and more free time and buffer days? So I'm going to tell you one more technology breakthrough that happened in the past 48 hours. It happened with Claude, which, much like ChatGPT or Grok or Perplexity, it's just another engine, but they added the capability to link your email and your calendar to it. And so by doing that, and you can effectively say, I give you temporary permission. So it's digesting your stuff, and supposedly it's not training the main engine. But what I did with it today, one of my core fears is missing out on opportunities, or my email is filled with stuff. But sometimes balls get dropped, and I don't even do my own email anymore. I have my assistant, but I know things fall through the cracks. So you can now tell Claude to analyze your email, and I just had it go through and find dropped balls, missing opportunities, messages that were meaningful and valuable from meaningful and valuable people. In other words, ignore all the noise and tell me who I need to follow up with. And it went out and it found a whole bunch of people and it prioritized them with a summary of what to do. And you can also have it look at your calendar and you say, here are my goals, my outcomes, what I want for my life and my business. And it will give you specific activities that your executive assistant or you can do to make those true, what to get rid of and what to do more of.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the whole idea of analyze my history, filter out the things that lead to my success and my happy, and give me more of that so I can spend more time in my free space.
Mm-hmm.
And just since this morning, in preparation for today, I was thinking about, okay, how can we create more of that optimal strategic coach life?
Mm-hmm.
And by next week or so, I'm going to have a whole bunch of tools that I'll have implemented company-wide, but I also intend to teach and train and show my clients so they can have more of it and we can spend more time collaborating and creating more VCR.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm going to point out here is that what we're talking about, and with, first of all, entrepreneurs, I believe, have an unfair advantage because they have 10 to 100 times or 1,000,000 times more personal agency than people whose time is controlled by other people. Okay. You have to understand that one is that we estimate that out of all entrepreneurs, first of all, entrepreneurs just technically, if you look at the IRS, if you ask somebody at the IRS what the definition in their mind would be of an entrepreneur, number one, they're self-employed. Okay, I mean, just sure that every entrepreneur is self-employed, but that doesn't really tell you anything about how they're operating. Because a lot of entrepreneurs, and the vast majority of them, don't really make very much money. And most they can say that they've created is a job that they've, instead of having a boss that they spend 40 to 50 hours a week with, they're working for a boss that they live with 24/7. Okay, and it's they can judge which one was the better boss. And anyway, but as we look at entrepreneurs, technically they're about 1 out of every 20 adult in some way is self-employed. And then the way that we would look at them to qualify, they're about, for our purposes, it's about 1 in 2,000. About out of every 2,000 entrepreneurs, they would actually qualify. Okay, and even that doesn't tell you anything. Are they growth entrepreneurs or are they status entrepreneurs?
Oh.
Okay, status is not our preferred entrepreneurial target. We want people who, when they're 40, they're growing faster than when they were 20. When they were 60, they're growing faster than when they were 40. And when they're 80, they're feeling that they're starting to get a handle on what they're doing. They're starting to get a handle. They're very, very excited about the future. And that would probably narrow it down to maybe, 1 out of maybe 20,000 absolutely represents. But what I like about what you're doing is that you can you could do another search of what kind of entrepreneur is it that really should be involved with strategic coach. Strategic coach. What is the type of individual who do this? Because it's not everybody.
Yes. Well, so I'm gonna make that real on 3 levels for you. Number 1. Your description of your perfect customer is Dan Sullivan.
Yeah.
Both past Dan Sullivan and your future Dan Sullivan and who you wish to live into.
That would be true. That would be true of you too, Mike.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We're looking for ourselves.
Yes.
In another body.
The search for God. Yes. And the search for connection. And,
or someone who's friendly with God.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I leave God.
You can interpret that however you want. Yeah.
I leave God at the top. I don't.
Okay. Good enough. I think that somehow experiential divine connection is another part. Self-realization. Maybe I should have reworded it. But the second part of that is identifying that perfect customer. So I'll tell you about something I'm going to make for you. And that is, I'm going to build a Manus tool that will dive in deep and identify 100 additional audiences and groups that already have strategic coaches, perfect client or customer inside it, who might not yet know about coach. Because there are plenty of people, I bump into, and I'm like, yeah, I remember strategic coach. I do a podcast with Dan Sullivan. They're like, man, I never heard of it before. I'm like, that's interesting. And I'll mention the books. More people have heard about the best-selling books now. That's something that's shifted over the past few years. Having mainstream books really helped the awareness. But the second part of this is this tool that you think about it. So let's say someone self-identifies, they want to learn more about coach. This little tool I started building so I can have my $1,000 cup of coffee and create instant trust and intimacy and value. Imagine when your ideal person goes through the door and you'd be able to mind read them into their better future self, living the strategic coach life. Because that is essentially what this does. And it's like applying all these tools. What will their life be like a year from now or 3 years from now? And, predict their DOS, predict their dangers, opportunities, and strengths, predict their Dan Sullivan perception of their future self that they may not even be aware of. Because, one of the hardest questions Dan Sullivan asks is to look at your past in order to see your better future. And it is hard.
Well,
it's a hell of an exercise. Yeah. What do you do with that?
Yeah, well, I will tell you something here is that the greatest weakness I've coached is my 51st year of coaching entrepreneurs. 1974 was the start. And there's one fundamental thing you have to come to grips with as an entrepreneur. And I would say the vast majority of entrepreneurs never do. And that is that they're trying to get away from their past. So they have no interest whatsoever in being reminded of their past. And that person is trying to be an athlete with only one leg and one hand, one arm and one leg. That you and it's doing an extraordinary disservice to who you actually are as a person. Okay, and the thing is that it means that who you want to be is imaginary, and who you actually are, you have contempt for. Okay, and I don't know what to do with that type of person. I think we're crossing the we're crossing the line into deep psychotherapy, or that requires an entirely different type of program going forward. But I'm looking for people who actually like themselves, because I like myself. I like myself. I like Dan.
Yes.
Dan's a good guy. So I'm looking for the person who can instantly say that, I kind of like the person I am. That the future is unlimited for people who like themselves, who also are ambitious.
Yes. So I'll tell you what the answer to that one is in my experience. What is a prime indicator is someone who's paid for coaching in the past and still does. That means they understand the value of that, and they're invested in themselves enough. So there is that value and self-worth. The other one is I look for a history of a belonger. So they belong to other groups. They're in men's groups. So they're already on a quest. And there's an old saying that Deepak Chopra used to say to my wife when they drove together all the time. He said, you want to find the people who are already converted. And I think that's the lift that when people discover Strategic Coach, they're like, oh, this is the place that there's a lot of people like me, and there's structure here. And entrepreneurs, even though our greatest thing that we seek is freedom, we seek rules that provide more freedom.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what the common thread inside this shows up as. So this is super interesting, Dan.
Yeah. I think the big thing is that about what you just said about the structure, I think is really true. And if you want to be creative in one part of your life, you have to have structured predictability in other parts of your life. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can't be creative everywhere in your life. It has to be focused creativity. And as you go forward, it has to do with certain thing, we call it unique ability, that you're operating within your unique ability. And namely, that the activity that you're best at and that you love most doing actually costs you the least amount of energy. Mm-hmm. It gives energy. It actually, if you can be in your unique ability from morning till night, your biggest challenge is going to sleep at night because you're so wound up from doing a really, really great activity. Okay. And then you have to have other structures that tell you when to, okay, that's enough for one day, get a good night's sleep and have another good day after that. And you'll be more capable and confident tomorrow when you wake up than you are right now. And I think it's a really a lifetime of self-observation and self-awareness and self-transformation. I think that's really the entrepreneur's life. And, just as a general statement here, and we're getting probably close to closing time on this one.
Yes.
What I observe in the world right now, why there's so much uncertainty and so much turmoil, as people have said, that the entrepreneurs are now getting out of control. And all of world history has been to keep the entrepreneurs under control. And I think AI is really part of this.
I completely agree.
You're out of control.
Completely.
In a good way. Way. Yeah. But nobody can possibly interfere with your explorations and your innovations right now. Nothing. There's nothing that can interfere with it.
No. Well, now there's. Yeah. As long as I got an internet connection, and other entrepreneurs around me, because my joy comes from collaboration, 100%. So.
But I think why we're experiencing this level of uncertainty, and it's really kicked up over the last, it's just in the last 3 or 4 months. I mean, Trump has been in office for 100 days on the 30th of the month, and what's happened just since he became into office. Then he brings another entrepreneur.
One thing that showed up when I did my deep research on myself, it said bureaucracy is my only enemy. Well, not only, but it was the main one. And
it's also a terrific resource, because any bureaucratic activity, that there's an entrepreneurial solution that's 10 times better.
Yes. All right. So what are your biggest takeaways from this episode, Dan? What are your
Well, I'm amazed at what you're doing, and I'm also amazed at the quality of the AI output. I'm just really thoroughly impressed. Let me say this: I'm thoroughly impressed with it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. My big takeaway from this episode has been, I really enjoyed your take on free days and freedom and how you see it, and also how you've been incorporating AI to become more productive and more interested and interesting simultaneously, and how you're building a faster, clearer future self with it. It's so much fun and so inspiring to watch. So thanks for putting on a good show.
Yeah, well, it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. This version feels really good.
Yeah, I agree. It's a blast to watch. And when I see other members of Coach walking away and they're like, I just cannot believe how much stuff and how on point Dan is right now. It's really clear that you just bring your A game, and your A game has been a triple A game. Mm-hmm. So it's fun. It's even more fun to create these shows.
Good.
What do you say we wrap it up?
I think we had. I think we've checked the boxes. We've checked at the capability box, and we've checked the amplifier box.
Agreed. All right. Well, we'll wrap this up. This is Capability Amplifier. If you enjoyed this, make sure you like it and share it with another business owner or founder you know. And if you're not already inside of Strategic Coach, now would be a great time to head on over to strategiccoach.com and sign up. And if you have any interest in prototyping, collaborating, and experiencing what a $1,000 cup of coffee looks like to make your future self real, I'll put a link to the $1,000 cup of coffee inside this description. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.